Good afternoon. I'm Mike Wallace. I'm not Mike Wallace, but if that worked for you, then you're ready for Best Actress in a Comedy, because that's what we're going to talk about. I'm still doing my best of 2023 lists, and I like to highlight more than one thing. Contrary to popular belief of what critics like to do, I don't actually like to say that I hate, it's not fun for me to just come on here and be like, oh, these things are terrible. Actually, when I do get to my worst of list, I think it's going to surprise people this year. So, um, new spin on worst. Anyway, we're going to celebrate some actresses, and I'll tell you who I think my best actress in a comedy is. Um, so, let's roll into this category. I've got a bunch of nominees to discuss before I tell you who I think deserves to win this category. Just as I always like to recap, because you guys don't watch all my videos. So to recap my tastes so far, my best of 2023 list, I like to celebrate people who are like me. So other critics, Epic Adam does movies, subscribe to his channel. It's hilarious. I for best streaming service of 2023, I gave it to Apple Plus. For best animated TV series, I gave that one to Archer. For best ensemble in a drama, I gave that to Succession. For best ensemble in a comedy, I gave that to The Marvelous Miss Maisel. For best supporting actor in a comedy, I gave that to Harrison Ford for Shrinking. And for best supporting actress in a comedy, I gave that to Janelle James from Abbott Elementary. So I've been doing a pretty good job of spreading the love thus far. Will that continue? I don't know. I really don't. Uh, I don't. Um, so this will be a fun category to discuss. Let's kick it off with some honorable mentions. First up, Stephanie Beatriz for her work on Twisted Metal. It reminded me so much of why I loved her on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. This on Peacock. If you haven't watched it, it's a lot funnier. I get from the people who were able to see it, they were appalled by the visual effects. Guess what? That doesn't work on me. I just thought it was funny. I was like, that I don't know how they managed to cobble together a TV show out of Twisted Metal, but I was pretty impressed. Thought it was funny. I'm glad it's getting a second season. So, kudos. Gotta talk about Natasha Demetrio. Natasha Demetrio. I don't know. From What We Do in the Shadows. Nadja has always been excellent, and it's just a great character. And I definitely want to recognize Nadia this season. So she's been consistently doing great work, and she always she just can't get nominated. Another person who does good work, and she kind of gets some recognition. There's some people pushing for her, but Bridget Everett on Someone Said to Be Somewhere, on HBO/Max. I think she does a great job. I don't love the show, but I like her on it, if that makes any sense. I think she's really good on the show. I like the show. I just don't, which is why you haven't heard me mention it anywhere else. It hasn't gotten a single honorable mention anywhere else, but I have to make sure that Bridget Everett gets a nomination or a mention, whatever you want to call it. Unfortunately, not everybody who sunsets this year is going to get an award, but I do want to tip my hat to Elle Fanning from The Great. I love The Great. I didn't originally. I think it took me it just took me by surprise. I was like, I don't know what this is. Right off the bat, I was like, I don't get it. But the more I watched it, the more I enjoyed it, and I'm sad to see it go after 3 seasons. Although I don't really know what we would have done without Nicholas Hoult, so I'm so torn because it's like I want more because it has a great ensemble and Elle Fanning is amazing.
User account
But
control window.
also,
no button. Alt N close.
Thank you,
button.
Jaws.
Do you want to?
We'll knock that one away. I do have my laptop open because every time I've done this list, I've always forgotten a name or two. And it drives me up the wall. um, so anyway, that's that. Ophelia Love Jones from Minx is one of those rare non-audio described performances. I sort of gave this an asterisk. I'm not totally giving it a pass. Stars can go fuck themselves. But the thing is, the show started with audio description, so I think the blind community, we all can commiserate on the fact when a show like sort of has audio description for the, and like they're like, well, you'll be fine after that. I think the show's only going to get 2 seasons, and if anybody's listening to me at all, I want to continue to say the word minx over and over just so that it continues to maybe live. I don't think it's officially been canceled yet, even though no one thinks it's coming back. So, nobody trusts Stars. It's tough to be a network that everybody hates you and nobody believes in you, and that when you're on a streak of cancellations, which leads me to somebody who I would love to have, but there are too many performances being sunsetted this year, too many great performances. And Max just canceled Sarah Lancashire's Julia, and I don't know what the fuck their problem is. I really don't. I get like, I'm not from Brooklyn, but I always hear people who are from New York go, I'm going to get Brooklyn on you for a minute here. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. But I really do. Whatever that is, I want to get up in Max's face and be like, what the fuck are you doing? Huh? What are you doing? Our flag means death and Julia? You got a fucking problem? You know? What are you doing here? And just, I don't understand. I just, Max, I'm trying to make sense of it, but these are the people who made an entire movie and then use it as a tax write-off. To try to understand what's happening at Warner Brothers Discovery, I'm assuming when you go in there, it's just like a fucking clown factory or something. I don't even know. They're just making like animal balloons. Some people are jerking off in the corner. There's like a donkey just wandering through the office. They're like, welcome to Warner Brothers Discovery. We're discovering ourselves. Let's greenlight that series over there, but we're going to cancel everything else. Move on. Max. Max. Anyway, yeah, so I have a very low opinion of Max, and have for a while. Their audio description is fine. They're among the better for accessibility, but as in terms of being able to make solid decisions as a corporation, they're not guided by what their consumers want or critics or anything like that. They're guided by taxes, I think, or something. I have no idea. David Zaslav needs an island, and he's going to get to that island, I think, and buy it. That's where they're guided by. This is a long tangent. I apologize. Quinta Brunson from Abbott Elementary. I do think she's funny, but I also kind of revealed when I gave the award to Janelle James that I think she's my favorite part of Abbott Elementary, which is why Quinta Brunson, it'd be really hard for her to win, while also me admitting that she's not the funniest person on Abbott Elementary. Or Quinta, I forget, it's Quinta Brunson. I apologize to Quinta. Yeah, but I do think she's funny enough to warrant being nominated, and hopefully for me to remember how to pronounce her name for future reference. Sarah Jessica Parker on And Just Like That. She has moments that make it worthy of her being on here. I know And Just Like That is divisive, but I'd really like to tip my hat. She had moments that were beautiful. Just like I tipped my hat to Sarah Ramirez also, because I thought they had very similar moments this season. After that, Jasmine Cephas Jones on Blind Spotting. This is another one that doesn't have audio description, but it's a performance. I'm not mentioning the show anywhere else. But if you've ever seen Blind Spotting, first of all, I saw the movie. The movie's fantastic. The TV series is a really interesting adaptation, and really shows the struggle of what this whole thing is like, defining race, having a parent that's in jail. It's not quite as effective as the movie. I thought the movie was just packed a little bit more punch. But Jasmine Cephas Jones's performance on the show is fantastic and deserves recognition on my list. Patricia Arquette was on a show called High Desert this year, where it got canceled really quickly. I don't, nothing really else to say about that, but she was good. I didn't hate High Desert. I don't know why it was canceled so damn fast, but the Apple moved really quickly away from that show. Rose Byrne had 2 shows on Apple. One of them ended. It was Physical. But I actually think her performance in Platonic is a little bit better. But I'll put them both on here. I like Platonic a little bit better, and I don't think it's intended for a second season, but I wouldn't mind seeing a second season of Platonic. I'm doing pretty good so far without needing to refer to my list. I'm going to need it at some point. Moving down the list to Tiffany Haddish for The After Party. Really the only character that should be transitioning from season to season. That's why I put her in lead and everyone else is in supporting. She should be the only one that actually makes it from season to season. Unfortunately, the show got canceled also. So rest in peace. I got a lot of cancellations on here. It's a very depressing list this year for Best Actress in a Comedy. It's just like a grave. Just welcome to the funeral for Best Actress in a Comedy. I don't know what's going to happen next year. I guess Quince is going to be the only one left. I win by default. I've defeated all of you. Hopefully she has a little bit of competition from Gina Rodriguez on Not Dead Yet, although ABC did just cancel 2 semi-long running dramas. They're kind of on a little bit of a cancellation spree. Maybe they'll stick with Not Dead Yet. I don't really know. I'm not feeling great. We're having a lot of things that are getting canceled. I don't really get it. It's like they're punishing people for the actors' strike by canceling all the content and making them start over from scratch. Being like, cancel all your shows. You start over. But I actually like Not Dead Yet. I think it's a interesting, fun concept, and I think she's really good on the show. So totally worth mentioning. I would love to take that mention here. Damn, am I gonna actually need to refer to my list for a pick?
Natasha Demet, Keita Brunson, Rose Byrne, Selena Gomez.
Selena Gomez for Only Murders in the Building.
2022. N-E, Cap S.
So Selena Gomez, I'm glad that she's making lists. It's always weird when she gets left off. I don't think she should win, but I definitely think she should be nominated, because to win is like the top of the best, and Selena's against some titans on this list. So, but absolutely, I think Selena Gomez. There's some preconceived notion, I think, that it's Selena Gomez, and she's also co-starring against Steve Martin and Martin Short, so how could she possibly be on their level? And the show has worked in every single fashion since the first season to try to make up for that by giving her way more focus. And I appreciate it. So, moving on down to
Sarah Lancashire, Rachel Brosnahan, Jean Smart, Maya Rudolph, Mary Tyers as Jen. Mary Tyers as Jen.
Mary Tyers as Jen in Extraordinary. This was a show that, if you have Hulu, you got to see this very interesting show about people with powers, and she played sort of this train wreck of a person, the only person who doesn't have a superpower in a world full of people who have superpowers. And I thought it worked. I thought it was hilarious to have this character. It's a great concept. And I really hope it comes back. I can't actually remember if it has audio description. I feel like it did, though. I'm pretty certain it does have audio description on Hulu, so give it a check. It's one of those like, I don't know, because it's clearly one of their British imports, but which is always a gamble at Hulu. But I really enjoyed Extraordinary this year on Hulu, and she's the lead. So I want to make sure she gets the recognition.
Sarah Gilbert, Cecily Strong.
Cecily
Schmigadoon,
Strong from
Apple Plus and
Schmigadoon
2220.
absolutely
In
deserves
line.
recognition. I guess Chicago now, but again, hilarious. Always has been, always will be. Cecily Strong, shout out.
Cecily Strong. Gina Rodriguez. Emily Browning as grammatical errors.
Emily Browning from Class of 07. She was the lead, basically, of this show. I mentioned the show before on Amazon. I don't think anybody's watching it. I don't know if it's getting a second season, but it's a show where a bunch of girls go to a high school reunion, and then like basically the world ends or possibly ends, but they're cut off because of the event that happens. They're sort of on an island, and they have no way of getting to anybody or anywhere, and they have no food. It was an all-girls school, so it's an all-female cast, and it's sort of like a comedic version of Yellow Jackets in many ways. So worked for me. So
Kerry Washington, Unprisoned.
Kerry
Hulu
Washington
and
was on a show called
2223. Kathy.
Unprisoned. It's not as good as her work on Scandal, but it was an interesting take for her, and I like the show enough to put her on the list. So I would like to see a second season. I also don't think that's happening. So this is, again, we are just walking through a graveyard of dead shows.
Patricia Arquette, Bridget Everett, Jasmine Seafast, Helen York, Rose Byrne, Elle Fanning, Aquafina, Nora grammatical error from
Ooh,
Queens.
Aquafina
Why?
from Aquafina's Nora from Queens. What a weird season. She went to Iceland, and her show ended in the weirdest way possible, and it's ended. So again, we're walking through a graveyard. I have no idea. Next year, no idea what this list is going to look like. It's going to have like 2 people on it. I won't even have a list anymore. I'll just be like, and your winner is the one person who remains. She who remains. Damn, so many final performances are on this list.
Julia Stiles, The Lake.
Ooh,
Amazon,
Julia Stiles
and
on The Lake. This is a fun performance for her. If you have not seen The Lake, it's on Amazon. It's great. She's so uptight, but she's so good at it. And there are moments where she breaks free and tries to have fun, and it's so awkward. And I love Julia Stiles. She's not known for comedy, but she's done it. I mean, 10 Things I Hate About You, I think a lot of people love that movie. So yeah, it just depends. You just have to know how to cast her and how to write for her, and she can be used perfectly. And I think she's great in The Lake. So I watch all the shows, guys. I would be the best critic to vote for TV, although I would have a really hard time narrowing the list down, but I do actually see everything. So yeah.
E.D.I. Patterson, The Righteous Gemstones. And
Yes, Edie Patterson from The Righteous Gemstones, playing the Gemstone sister. There's really only one. There's 2 brothers and a sister. I can't remember her name right now, but it's pretty easy to figure out from that formula which one of the Gemstone kids she is. She deserves to be on this list. Her weird affair thing that happened, and just her whole plot line this season was, she's always great. First of all, I love The Righteous Gemstones, but yeah, so
Sarah Jessica
I'm
Parker,
happy to have
Kim
her.
Cattrall, Glamorous.
Kim Cattrall for
G.
Glamorous. This is a dead performance also. This show's not surviving at Netflix. So, which is a shame. I thought it was a role that was written really well for her. And she played the head of a cosmetics company, and I thought the cast was a lot stronger. I enjoyed Glamorous way more than apparently anybody else did. This is me. I was alone on the top of the mountain, and nobody else came up to join me. I was like, oh, is that Glamorous? I'm gonna go walk up there, and I just was up there by myself, and nobody else came. So, yeah, I think I'm the only person who liked that performance. So
Tiffany Haddish, the Michelle Buteau, Survival
Michelle
Grammatical
Buteau
Error of the
from
Thickest, Netflix.
Survival of the Thickest. This was an interesting new entry for Netflix. I don't know if they renewed it or not. I hope so. I hope she's a rising comedian. I would think that they would continue to give her own show, but who knows? Netflix does weird things. So just like Max, they both kind of just, Netflix is the the people who decided not to have Glow for a third season, but because they're like, oh, it would take too long, and it's like, yeah. And when is Stranger Things season 5 going to premiere? Are you afraid that people aren't going to watch it because it took too long? When is The Sandman season 2? Are you afraid that people aren't going to watch it because it took too long? I love that. I love, and of course there are other examples on Netflix. So it was a bullshit answer as to why they were canceling Glow. They just didn't want it. But they tried to say it was because it would take too long because of the pandemic. It just wouldn't, no, nobody would want it. Yeah, bullshit. So,
Ophelia Lovey, Daisy Haggard, Breeder, Claudia O'Doherty, Killing It, Peacock.
Claudia O'Doherty for Killing It, which is on Peacock. I don't know what to say about this role. She's goofy. She's the goofiest Australian, I feel like, that's coming for Isla Fisher. She's just trying to steal Isla Fisher's, I don't know, everything. Like, I remember Isla Fisher, when she broke onto the scene, had this weird energy about her, and when we were casting her, now she's, like, toned down. She's, like, way toned down. But Claudia O'Doherty is just so hilarious on Killing It. I actually think she's funnier than Craig Robinson, and I love Craig Robinson. I think if the show didn't have her, there would be no reason to watch Killing It. I don't know what Peacock's doing with the show, but its second season was weird. I'll admit that. I don't know what we're doing here in the second season of Killing It, but she makes it watchable. So shout out.
Danny Mosley as Amy, Dreaming Whilst Black.
Danny
Showtime.
Mosley as Amy in Dreaming Whilst Black. This was a surprise show. I thought it was just going to be some weird import that I wasn't going to like, because I was aware that it was British. And I was just like, I think Showtime just has these... I've caught a couple shows that they've just randomly had. I've just been like, I don't know what this is. This isn't very... I'm not into this. But then I started watching Dreaming Whilst Black, and I was like, oh my god, this is really good. It's funny. It's sharp. It's smart. It has its own perspective. And some of the stuff that Amy went through with the whole working for the company and then, like, having to write apologies and everything, just perfection. Her storyline was perfection. This is a great show. If you haven't caught Dreaming Whilst Black, please do. Again, I also hope there's a second season of this. It's gotten a lot of critical praise. I would think Showtime would try to come back with this, because this could be something that really surprises at the Emmys, especially with all the shit that apparently isn't around anymore. Could end up surprising this coming Emmys. So we'll see.
Antonia Thomas, Still Up, Apple
Antonia Thomas from Still Up. Really goofy, weird performance. Loved her.
Emma Mackey as Maeve, Sex
Emma
Education,
Mackey
Netflix.
from Sex Education absolutely deserves recognition. Not even so much for being funny, but I do consider Sex Education to be primarily a comedy. But her performance as Maeve this season, I don't know how you don't recognize it. She went through so much loss. She went through sort of a crisis of self-worth. She broke up. Everything. She went through everything. It's definitely the least funny performance I've just nominated, but it's on a comedy. So it would be weird for me to, like, split up. That would be a weird thing to do, to just totally, like, ignore where the show is and just put performers, and then I have, like, the people who are funny on, like, Succession are, like, nominated in comedy. I'm like, well, Kieran Culkin is mostly funny, so I'm gonna put him in comedy. So Emma Mackey probably should be in a dramatic category after this season. She's not really funny at all, but her series is, and she was great. They just gave her just a ton of baggage, and she handled it very well. So
Courtney Cox, Shining Vale, stars.
yeah, Courtney Cox on Shining Vale. I'm going to mention this. It's another show that doesn't have audio description. I will let you know. I hate leaving off performers. I don't have a problem not mentioning the show, but when somebody's performing really good and they deserve recognition, Courtney Cox deserves recognition, and her show died. This is another dead show. So I just keep recognizing shows. I think Blind Spotting's dead too. I think Stars is canceling like everything that isn't named Power. I think that's the thing. They're down to like, I think they have a second half of Outlander's final season, and then they're just going to be the Power Network. So.
Sinclair Daniel as Nella, the other black girl.
And
Hulu.
Sinclair Daniel as Nella for the other black girl, which is on Hulu. Now, I'm cheating, even though I just gave you a giant list of names.
Courtney Cox, Emma, and
I
Danny Mosley,
have decided
Claudia O'Doherty, Daisy Haggard,
to go
Ophelia,
with
Daisy Haggard,
2
Readers,
runner-ups
FX.
and a winner. And that is, it's my party, and I'll cry if I want to.
Ophelia, Michelle Budo, Tiffany Haddish, The After Party, Apple,
So-
Michelle, Ophelia Lovey Bond, Michelle Budo,
Stop talking.
Ophelia Lovey Bond, R.
Okay, so Daisy Haggard is a runner-up for Breeders. It's the final season of Breeders, and I feel like I always recognize Martin Freeman's work, but she deserves just as much recognition. She's the other half of the show, and going out in the final season, I wanted to at least recognize her as the runner-up in this race of,
Michelle Budo, age.
like I said, a billion performances that are ending this year. Just so many, and to nail it down to like who I was going to recognize in their final seasons was really hard. There are even some shows like Schmigadoon that I don't know if they're making a 3rd season. So like I really believe that this list could be considerably shorter next time around. But yeah, Daisy Haggard is getting my runner-up spot, and I'm tying 2 winners. I'm doing it. I'm going to be honest and say that I thought about not having one of these on here because I did name Best Ensemble, but her performance over the seasons has been far too great for me to not recognize her going out the door. And that episode, was it 4 minutes and 32 seconds or whatever it was, the one that's named that's named after Time, was so incredible, and she was so good in it. So couple that with the fact that one of the most underrated shows exited this year in the most surprising fashion. Its final season was ending, and then they was airing final episodes, and they just announced this was it. Like, we didn't even know the series finale was coming, and it just was coming. And we're like, I was like, what? Why? You're on your 3rd season. Like, how is there not more left to you? Was Max doing this to you? Are they hurting you? Like, I was so concerned because this show has so many fans, and it finally did get Emmy nominations. Got an Emmy nomination this year for writing. So it was finally starting to get recognized, and a 4th season may have actually landed as someone in the cast. And I did give Molly Shannon was my runner-up, but my winners, tied winners for their final seasons, are Helen York from The Other Two and Rachel Brosnahan from The Marvelous Miss Maisel. Try to pick one. It's not fair. Helen York as Brooke has been consistently hilarious on The Other Two, and is one of the other 2. I love that show. It was so surprising when I started watching it. I didn't know I was going to get myself into, and I just found myself hooked. And yes, Molly Shannon is terrific and deserves all the recognition in the world. But the leads of the show are where it's at. And definitely Brooke just brings something so special to her, to the show. And she brings something so special to her role. So, but Rachel Brosnahan also going out the door. And they aged her throughout the season, and her stuff with Joel, and just everything that she had this season was beautiful and brilliant. And then she got her 4 minutes, and it didn't even feel like 4. But man, as a great way to go out. So my ties for Best Actress in a Comedy Series are Helen York for the other two and Rachel Brosnahan for The Marvelous Miss Maisel. So thanks for watching. And I will I'll do another category tomorrow. And until then, I'll see you guys on the other side.